5 millennia of nameless creations. The irrigation ditch that turned desert into harvest. Cities bloomed. Laws etched. The first musical instruments. Ancient star charts. Etched on clay. Priests. Legacy. All of it belonging to no one. Or rather, to everyone. Minds birthed new ideas. We call this period of human history the Anonymous Age. Authorship unknown. Concept unformed. Things were made. Things were known. Things were passed down. Creators vanished, absorbed by the temple's grand design. 2285 BCE. Reed etched him. Her name, Enheduanna. The first author the world has ever known by name. The gesture seems small. It was not small. It was one of the most radical acts in the history of human consciousness. Penning hymns revealed the soul's deep source. She found words for the vast distance. It is a philosophical revolution. Homer, literature's father, lived 15 centuries post-Enheduanna. When Homer was composing the Iliad, Enheduanna's hymns were already as ancient to him as he is to us. The mother of literature was not a man. She was not Greek. Akkadian priestess penned Ur's moon god's tales, so urgently human that she could not allow it to go unsigned. Know her world, know her maker. Ancient Mesopotamia, divine city-states, temple economies, civic pride. Ancient Sumer birthed writing, wheels, and empires. Akkad, young, fierce, Semitic tongue. Sargon of Akkad was, by any reasonable historical measure, the first empire builder in human history. Rising from obscurity, the legend says he was born to a priestess and sent down the river in a basket. He conquered Sumer's city-states, unified Mesopotamia from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean coast. A novel empire, ruthlessly forged. Conquest's end. Force alone won't hold his empire. An empire of diverse peoples, speaking different languages, worshipping different gods. An empire's culture mirrored its might. It required a story that the conquered could recognize themselves inside. Sargon's solution was his daughter, High Priestess of Nanna, Ur's moon god. Divine's earthly spouse, bridging gods and mortals. Cities organized their economies around the temple. The temple organized its theology around the En. To control who held that position was to control the religious legitimacy of the entire southern culture. Sargon appointed his daughter to the position. Her Akkadian birth name is lost to us. Enheduanna, heaven's ornament, the high priestess of the moon god of Ur. She was, in modern political terms, a strategic appointment. She was also, in terms that transcend politics entirely, a gifted woman reshaped an empire's tool into lasting legacy. Enheduanna ruled a vast temple economy. She oversaw rituals of extraordinary complexity. She guided priests, met envoys, a pious, shrewd leader, and the ability to hold together a community that straddled two civilizations. Alone, her thoughts soared, too grand for common ties. She bridged worlds, interpreting divine silence for her people. And in that solitude, she wrote, she left us 3 major works. 42 hymns to the temples of Sumer and Akkad, a systematic theological project of breathtaking ambition. A hymn to Nanna, the moon god, her own deity, and the work for which she will be remembered as long as human beings write anything at all. The hymn to Inanna, known by its opening words as the exaltation of Inanna in Sumerian. Oldest signed poem, 150 lines. Divine Lady, radiant light, heaven's beloved Inanna. These are the opening lines of the exaltation. Ancient texts pulse with power. There is nothing tentative in them. There is no apology, no qualification, no deference to convention. This is a writer who knows exactly what she is doing and intends every word. Inanna was the Sumerian goddess of love, war, justice, and political power. She was the most complex deity in the Mesopotamian pantheon, a figure of terrifying contradictions, simultaneously a goddess of erotic love and a goddess who descended into the underworld and returned. Simultaneously, the planet Venus, and the embodiment of the uncontrollable forces of life itself. She was not easy to praise. She demanded everything from her poet, and Enheduanna gave her everything. Exaltation, no mere hymn, but a soul's fervent plea. It is something far more radical. It is personal. Enheduanna's poem. Her pain, goddess bond, needs. The E that appears in the text is not a rhetorical device. A woman's desperate plea to the divine. Voices merge. Poet, goddess, cosmic. Scholars deem it lyric poetry's birth. The mode of writing in which the poet's interior experience becomes the subject of the work. Subjectivity drives poetic meaning with this woman, in this ziggurat. In the 23rd century, before the Common Era, she was also doing something politically extraordinary. Inanna was primarily a Sumerian deity. Nanna, the moon god, was her father in the Sumerian cosmology. Enheduanna's hymn, Exalted Inanna, was performing a theological act of integration. Your goddess reigns supreme. Your faith shapes our world. The conquerors and the conquered kneel at the same altar. It was diplomacy conducted in verse. Empire building through theology, theology expressed through literature. Art's power outlived politics. She was empire's tool, literature's dawn. History is full of such accidents, except that this one was no accident. Enheduanna, for 40 years, saw Sargon and his sons reign. A timeless matriarch, her sacred power endured beyond fleeting politics. But fixed points have enemies. And empires, even in their moments of greatest strength, breed the conditions of their own instability. Sometime during the reign of her nephew Naram-Sin, the chronology is uncertain. Sumerian Lugal-Anne rebelled, his aim beyond politics. Religion's power dwarfed armies. He seized the ziggurat at Ur. He expelled Enheduanna. Enheduanna's hymn birthed literature. A woman's anguished cry, goddess gone. This is the moment in the poem that separates it from every other piece of religious literature of its era. Hymns praise gods, list might, tell myths. They do not ask the goddess, why have you let this happen to me? The first lady of the heavens has been destroyed. Nanna has not spoken for me. What does my fate mean to me? Who is it, I ask, who has made me so miserable? I have been cast out of the holy temple. Read those lines again. Divine's earthly rep, writing, in the aftermath of her exile, that she does not understand her fate, that she feels abandoned by the God she has served, that her suffering has made existence itself incomprehensible. This is not liturgy, this is not theology, raw loss, life's vertigo. And Enheduanna did what great writers have always done. She pressed it into the clay, she made it permanent. She gifted a voice to the exiled. Scholars have noted the structural parallel between the exaltation's narrative and the mythology of Inanna herself. Inanna descends, killed, hung on hook, and left for dead. Resurrected, she returned, changed at a price. She returns with the knowledge of death. Enheduanna's exile mirrors this structure with an exactness that cannot be entirely accidental. From power's peak, she plunged to the lost. She confronts the absence of the god. She writes the poem of her suffering. And then, like Inanna, she returns. Goddess myth gave her pain meaning. Her divine 40 years blurred boundaries. She had spent a lifetime speaking for the goddess. Goddess's voice, literature's art, descent's return. Naram-Sin quelled revolt, restored order. Enheduanna reinstated. She returned, changed, to her old life. Exile's writings birthed value, her pain, a universal echo, recognizable to strangers across any distance of time or culture. I've been where sorrow's lyre plays. Night is yours now. I, Enheduanna, will offer supplications to you. My tears, like sweet drink, I will offer to the holy Inanna. Exile's anguish birthed the liturgy. Temples echoed with her works for 500 years. Her hymns were used as school texts for generations of scribes learning their craft. Her name graced ancient Near East lists, celebrated, not forgotten. And then, as happens to so much, she was buried. Time's slow fade, not fire's rage. Cuneiform faded after Alexander's conquest. Hymn tablets lay buried in ancient Mesopotamian debris mounds. Her name, her work, her revolution were sealed in clay and earth and silence. Woolley unearthed Ur's ancient secrets, discovered a circular alabaster disc in the ruins of the temple precinct. It was approximately the size of a dinner plate. Priestly figure etched, ritual offering, cuneiform rim. Enheduanna, Sargon's daughter High Priestess. The disc is now in the Penn Museum in Philadelphia. Ancient portrait. Human civilization's gem. Earliest known author in the history of writing. Her composed face. A sculptor's art. A ten's ritual. She is not performing for us. She does not know we are watching. It took the 20th century almost 50 more years to fully understand what it had found. Her hymns, tablets unlocked, scholars hailed their literary might. Enheduanna, first author, origin of authorship. Scholar Jacobson. Hello. J. Consolidated. Van Dyck's 1968 work revealed Enheduanna. Wider scholarly attention. Let us sit with that phrase for a moment and examine its dimensions. Her authorship, history's first, was restored. In 1968, 4,250 years after she pressed her name into wet clay in a ziggurat in Mesopotamia. Homer, first point of literary history. The mother of literature waited 4,000 years to be called by her name. Words for all life, even waiting. Why did it take so long? The answer is not mysterious, though it is painful. 19th century script keys unlocked her story. Digs reveal her past. New tablets emerge. Translations bloom. Ancient Near East. Underexplored. Vast lands. Western education's roots ignored many. Everything that preceded or surrounded them. And partly, honestly, necessarily, because she was a woman. The history of intellectual recognition is a history of what a culture decides to value. Ancient poetess defied Western origin stories. The story required men. It required Greeks. Consciousness's lineage. Plato to Aristotle to us. She's an alternate origin, a different account of how the human need to name experience became the art of literature. An account in which the first author is a woman, the first god to receive literary exaltation is a goddess. Exiled, I cry to God. I am here. I have not forgotten you. Have you forgotten me? Enheduanna, born to empire, served a goddess, wielded power, forged art. She was exiled. And in her exile, she wrote the oldest personal poem the world has ever known. She rose, temple-bound, knowing self endures erasure. She was not trying to be the first author. Her words, etched in clay, outlasted all else in dust. World's literature, longing, loss, self-discovery. Essays echo Ur's ancient clay. She signed her name. She made us possible. And the clay still holds.